Too often times we hear people talk about what we don't have or what they wish we had. So my approach to this is just to help share with people what all is available. When people start to become more engaged, then it just makes everything richer. Hello again, everybody. Welcome back to our community. Andy Thornton, President and CEO with the Greater Peoria Family YMCA, along with Ryan Hinnen.
Hello.
Our Senior Director of Mission Advancement. We are happy to be back with you again this month. So we come to you from the I've Decided Studios in Peoria, Illinois. Our community is sponsored by I've Decided and
The YMCA.
Imagine that. How cool is that? Well, Ryan, speaking of the Y, why don't you tell the folks some of the cool stuff that's going on?
Well, there's almost so many things going on right now that it's hard to pick just one to focus on. So I'm going to put out there that
pick a couple.
Okay. Coming up on November 22nd from 4 to 8 p.m. If you'd like to support the Y and have a great dinner, head over to Portillo's and tell them that you're there to support the YMCA, and we will get a proceed of all the sales that evening. And like I said, there's so many great things going on. We're about midway through the Strong Challenge at the YMCA. There's still time for you to get involved. If you want to come on over, please stop in. There's still time to take part in that. It's a nationwide event. And then we've got some really, really big news coming out.
Yeah, big news.
Huge news. Earth-shattering for Peoria news. And I don't say that lightly. So if you're interested in learning more, you're going to want to tune into the YMCA's Facebook page this coming Friday at 10 a.m. And I think we have to leave it there.
I think we do.
Okay.
Yep, I think we do. It is cool. It is big. We just left a very important meeting at the Y with our board of directors and very excited for what's going to be announced on Friday.
Yeah, so cool head to Facebook and search Greater Peoria Family YMCA, or you can use the @ at Peoria YMCA, and you'll be able to connect with us.
And what do we say at the Y? When you belong to the Y,
you belong to something greater.
And that will never be more true than Friday at 10 a.m. It's really, really cool.
It is.
Exciting stuff. Well, good. Thank you for that. And speaking of Portillo's, what's your favorite thing at Portillo's? Do you have a favorite thing at Portillo's? Because I think everybody does.
I had never been until yesterday.
Wow.
And I had the Italian beef with sweet peppers.
It is good.
It was good.
My favorite is the Italian beef and sausage combo.
Oh.
Because I figure if you're going to do it, you just got to go all the way. And it's a fantastic sandwich. My kids love the cake shake.
I heard about this.
It's super chocolatey. Yeah, 1,200 calories. It is. It's amazing. And I've never even tasted it because I don't want it. I don't like that much chocolate. But every time I go, I got to get 4 cake shakes.
I was told that I should order it, and I didn't. And now I'm kind of upset.
Well, 1,200 calories. That's what, half your calorie intake?
A week's worth of calories.
A week?
No, just kidding.
All right. Well, let's get down to business here. We're going to talk this week about the word broaden. Broaden, 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 and we're going to look at it from the lens of broadening your perspective, right?
Okay.
And what does that mean? So, as we always do every month when we start off our show and we talk about this weekly winning word, we want to provide a definition, so kind of a foundation for the word. And the definition for broaden is to expand and to encompass more people, ideas, or things.
Okay.
So when you hear that, what do you think of?
I go to the realm of ideas and perspective, and I think of thinking outside the box, right? That's the cheesy catchphrase that pops into my head. But just trying to maybe look at things a little bit differently from maybe a different angle, and take an outside, try to separate myself and look at it maybe from your perspective or from at the Y, from our members' perspective. How are they going to react to this?
Really important, right? A lot of times, just to kind of follow along with that thought, a lot of times we think we know the answer, right? I think we know we need to do this in order to make people happy. And if we don't ask them, it ends up backfiring on us, right? Like, why did you do that? Why did you put this piece of equipment there?
Right.
It works so much better over here. And we never even thought of it, right? Because we see it every day.
Why are you not doing this anymore? Oh, nobody was interested in that. Oh, yes, they were.
Yeah, we found out the hard way, right? So yeah, you're right. It's important to talk to others and learn. So perspective is the way that you see something. Do you agree with that?
Sure.
Okay.
Yeah. Both literally and figuratively.
Right.
Yeah.
Right. And perspective is limited to your understanding of things, right? Right? Would you agree with that?
I would.
And you gain your understanding through experience.
Correct.
Right? You agree with that?
100%.
Okay, good. So our experiences shape our perspective, right? The more things that we do, the more things that we partake in, the more people that we meet, the more people that we interact with,
the more diversity of backgrounds and cultural norms and things that we just being exposed to different foods, your perspective, it'll change your palate a little bit, right?
Yeah.
And you might find that you like spicy curry Indian food, but yeah, you have to go out and experience new things.
Okay, good. So if you want to grow and if you want to succeed, it would make sense then for you to think about, how can I broaden my perspective, right?
Yeah.
Because the more you know, the more knowledge you have, the better prepared you're going to be, right, to deal with things in life. Because let's face it, things in life sometimes suck.
Sure.
Right? Challenges come our way. And the more perspective that we have, or the broader our perspective is, the easier it is, I think, for us to deal with that, work through that, right?
Yeah.
So we're going to talk a little bit about that. So if you had a chance to read Kim's weekly winning resource this week, she wrote an article and she defined 3 action steps to help you broaden your perspective. So we're going to talk about those 3 things. So the first one is to change your environment.
Change your environment.
Yeah.
And I think that one relates directly to perspective, when we're talking about it, especially that internal perspective, not just, your physical environment. You can change that too, especially if you are, your bedroom's a mess, your house is a mess, clean it up. Change it'll change the way that you feel about yourself. You make your bed every day. You're starting off, you iron your shirt, you put on a clean pair of jeans instead of wearing them for a week, and then there's the changing your environment in the things that you absorb and the literature that you consume, how much time you spend on social media. There's I'm not sure if you saw this. It was really popular a few months back, but The Social Dilemma came out. It was on Netflix. I did
watch it, yes.
And that was about
how my wife watch it with me.
Did you? My wife watched it and immediately deleted her Facebook account.
I think a lot of people did that.
I think that was a great change of environment for a lot of people. But that's all about how, that's your environment not wanting you to change and feeding you more of the same. You get into this echo chamber and you can't actually break out of that cycle, change your environment, see things from your neighbor's perspective. Doesn't allow for a whole lot of empathy.
Yeah. That's a rabbit hole that we're not going to go in right now. But I was at just sidebar. I was at a men's breakfast at my church Saturday morning, and it happens once a month, and we gather and I was sitting there next to my pastor, just enjoying some conversation. His brother was in town to visit because my pastor's son's a really good cross country runner, and he was running down at Detweiler Park in the cross country championship. And his brother does not have Facebook and does not have Instagram. And he was showing him the reels, these new things that have come out. And his brother's response to him was, "That's a carcinogen." The first time he saw it. And I thought, that's the first time I've heard it described that way. And it is exactly right. It's an addictive habit. But anyway, we're not going to go there.
Yeah.
So sorry,
that's good.
Sidebar. So
It's a new perspective.
Yeah, it is a new perspective, right? And I think when you start to think of it that way, it's like, maybe I don't want to open that right now.
Yeah.
Because it's a hole that you get sucked down into. So thanks for spinning it back into the subject matter. I appreciate that.
You're welcome.
So your environment is defined. It's composed of the space that you work and you live in. You talked a little bit about that, right? Changing your house, change things up, clean it up if it's messy, those things. What you listen to, what you watch, the things that you read and that you follow, and the people that you spend your time with. So when we're talking about changing your environment, it's all of those things, right? If you go to work and do the same thing every day, and you see the same people every day, you go to eat lunch at the same place every day, right? And then you go home and you continually do that over and over again, your perspective is going to be limited, right? You've got to get to know more people. You've got to be willing to communicate with other people who aren't necessarily like you. Learn from their experience, learn why they do things a certain way and why they don't. It doesn't mean that you have to agree with it or do it with them, but at least you learn through that experience.
Yeah.
Reading is a really important.
That kind of gets into the next. I don't know if we want to go there just yet, but that gets you into the next step or action item, which is seeking wisdom. But I think you're right. And so if we're talking about changing your environment, a good way to meet more people, a good way to change your physical habits, change things, is to join an organization like I've decided to join an organization like the YMCA. Right. Maybe it's, get more involved at church, seek out, again, we're getting back to seek wisdom, and I think everything's kind of leading there. So Kim did a great job with the article, but, seeking wisdom, maybe it's a Bible study, maybe it's a book club, but something where you can have an interaction with people who may think differently than you. Right. And
because there's things that you can learn from that.
Absolutely.
Right. And the broader our perspective is, the better we're going to perform in life.
I think if the world would just listen to you and I, they'd all be a whole lot happier.
No doubt about it. I think I need to listen to you and I a little more.
And Kim too.
Yeah. Kim too. But so your environment is a huge determinant in how you see things in your life.
Yep,
absolutely. And it's not just the physical space that you're in. It's the people that you socialize with. It's the things that you read. It's the TV shows and news channels that you watch. It's the places that you go, right? It's the people that you hang out with. And you have to be willing to, I think, engage with others. More than anything, that social interaction and learning through those conversations and things like that is probably, if I had to rank the single most important part of our environment, it's probably the people that we hang out with. And if it's always the same people, always the same things, you're not going to have as broad of a perspective as that you might hope to have, or that you need really to be successful in life. So let's move on to step 2.
Seeking wisdom.
Seek wisdom.
Seeking wisdom. You hear about someone being well-read, or someone that has a mentor, or, I know you and I talk a lot about this. One of your mentors is a great gentleman in the YMCA space, Jorge Perez. And it's somebody that you lean on for, advice, just somebody to check in with,
bounce ideas off.
I think that's really important to have that. I personally, I enjoy listening to books. I try to listen to a lot of different things as I'm driving or working out or things like that. And just, again, seeking wisdom can help change your perspective and help you to really form that and for you to be in the right headspace to succeed, essentially.
Yeah, I think Kim did a really good job of kind of summing it up in her article that she wrote. And so, wisdom is any type of knowledge that gives you a greater sense of peace, fulfillment, and happiness.
Sure.
Right? That's what we're all looking for.
Yeah.
And there's a lot of different ways that we can gain that wisdom, right? And we have to be open to other ideas, other thoughts, other ways to engage with people.
Yeah. I think your carcinogen reference is pretty apropos, because if you start thinking about the stuff that goes into your head as either good fuel or bad fuel,
right,
and we're from the framework of we're trying to grow here and be better than we are, that are you putting something in that's worthwhile or
right,
not?
Something that's a deterrent.
Yeah.
I think that's a good point. So the wisdom comes through many different means, right? It could be through reading, it could be through prayer.
Mm-hmm.
Right? A lot of times, I think, in my life, it happens that way, right? Where we really sit down and be thoughtful in prayer and communicate with God and learn a lot that way, or through Scripture. It's talking with other people who have had different experiences than what you've had, and you have to be willing to listen and kind of absorb that information. But it's critically important to learn from others. My parents used to say it to me when I was growing up. I say it to my kids when they're growing up. They're probably going to say it to their kids. I'm doing what I'm doing because I don't want you to make the same mistakes that I made growing up, right? So that's what that is they were sharing wisdom.
Sure.
Because they've done that before, and they have seen the struggles that might create by making decisions, whatever they are. They're different for everybody, but you have to be able to listen and absorb some of that stuff. And that's hard to do when you're a kid, because you think you know everything, right?
Right. There's a certain level. If you're truly seeking wisdom, there's a certain level of humility that you have to have.
Absolutely. Humility that's really good. You're absolutely right. Because if you're not humble, and if you can't
know everything,
right, then you're not going to. You can't be wise and full of wisdom if you're not humble. If you're full of pride, there's not a lot of room for wisdom. Right. So
full of anything, there's not a lot of room for anything else.
That's true. All right. So the third step is you got to change your environment. You got to seek wisdom from others. And the third step is, and this is one of my favorite places to go. And it's funny, when we were talking with Kim before the show, and she found this to be a sensitive area, but I think it's great because, but I look at it from a coach's perspective, and I spend a lot of time coaching people.
Yeah.
And I hate when people make excuses for failure.
Yeah. Stop making excuses.
Right. It's just, you're going to mess up. You're going to make mistakes. You're going to fail. Don't compound the failure by making an excuse for why the failure happened. It happened.
Own it.
Own it. Learn from it. Be better for it.
Right.
Right. Just don't tell me that it was somebody else's fault or some silly thing caused it. It happened.
Right.
And it probably happened. And sometimes those things happen because of other things that influence things. I get that. And there's some reality to that. But most of the time, our failures are our own mistakes.
Sure. There's a lot of, oh, well, it was COVID presently.
Yeah.
Right. And I'm a victim of that, or a perpetrator of that myself. And it's easy. We'd rather there be a fall guy than to have a little humility again, be humble about it, and say, okay, that was really
Kim wrote about it in her article. It's psychological.
Yeah.
And it made sense to me when I read the article. It is, right? It's a mechanism that we are probably born with because we want to make ourselves feel good. And when we excuse something away, then we get to make ourselves feel a little bit better about it, right?
Yeah.
It happened, yeah, but here's why it happened. So I'm not entirely at fault because of these other things that influenced it. Well, in reality, you're probably at fault, right?
At least a little bit.
Yeah, and so when you own the failure, though, then I think you put yourself in a better position to not repeat it.
Right.
Right? That's the thing. It's like, yeah, I do this every time we have a show. I always bring up coaching because I spend a lot of time doing it. I'm in the gym a lot right now, coaching junior high girls basketball, and I love these girls. I love coaching them because they listen and they normally are pretty coachable, but every now and then something happens, and it's always like everybody's pointing their fingers at, not my fault, right? She didn't do her job. It's like, wait a minute.
Right.
We've got to own it. And if we want to be good, and this team has the ability to be pretty good, and it's coming up on the end of our season, our regionals in a week and a half, and they got a chance to win. And I want them to achieve that. But if we can't come together and work together as 5 people and own our responsibilities and own our failures when they happen, then we're not going to achieve that ultimate goal. So there's a learning process there. But I think making excuses is an easy thing to do. I think it happens all the time. I do it too. I'm not immune to it, but the more that we can overcome that challenge in our life, the more successful it's going to be. We're going to be able to seek wisdom more often when we own our failures. We're going to be able to change our environment more often when we own our failures. I really think that this piece of it kind of brings it all together.
Yeah, and it could be the thing that's keeping you from that change of perspective. It's the thing that keeps you from broadening your horizons.
I think so.
In all of this.
Back to humility, right? When you're not willing to own your mistakes, then it's pride.
Yeah. Well,
pride gets in the way.
You make an excuse for not picking up your bedroom or mowing the lawn or I'm just too busy. We talked about that with Kim. I'm just too busy. And stop making any excuses. If you want to be better, you have to take that step.
So if you want to be more successful, if you want to broaden your perspective, those are the 3 things. Change your environment. What was the second one? Seek wisdom. And stop making excuses. Just own it. Own it, embrace it, learn from it, and we're all going to be better off for it. Because I think, and this is just me talking, I appreciate it when somebody tells me, hey, I screwed up. I can deal with that so much better than somebody telling me that, I messed up, but it wasn't my fault. That doesn't go very well.
Right. Or just simply not acknowledging it.
Well, true. We're just, that's even worse. So, all right. Well, we got to run. We're out of time. Thanks for joining us again this week on Our Community. We look forward to seeing you next time here in Our Community. Have a great day.